Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be continuing with the lectures on Chittaja Rūpa. If you remember, last time we categorized chittas based on the mind-born matter they produce, based on the capacity of the mind-born matter they produce. We talked what type of chittas, what type of chittas can produce Chittaja Rūpas, which can change the posture, which could maintain the posture, and what type of chittas that produce mere Chittaja Rūpas, which have no special capacity as the other two. So, with the coming of Chittaja Rūpas into the context, we understand that mind is capable of causing physical activities by producing another physical entity, or entity means physical elements, which we term as the Chittaja Rūpas. Even the Theravadians on this regard of the opinion that the mind cannot just make a physical movement, it cannot make the body to move or do some activity. It does only by producing Chittaja Rūpas, and that Chittaja Rūpa is causing the pressure of making the physical movements. So far what we have done is, we have discussed what the Chittaja Rūpas are and what type of chittas produce Chittaja Rūpas, and what are the Chittaja Kalapas, Chittaja Santatis, and finally what is the capacity of a chitta, and what is the capacity of a Chittaja Rūpa which is produced by particular chittas. And today, from today onwards, we will be moving to another spectrum, that is discussing about certain physical activities and the relationship between the Chittaja Rūpas and those particular activities. Because Chittaja Rūpas are mainly, when we are talking about Chittaja Rūpas, we should know that there is a straightforward connection with the physical movements, physical activities such as laughing, crying, dancing, singing, and all these activities, and some physical changes or biological changes that happen in our body. For example, the breathing, according to Theravada teachings, is greatly related with Chittaja Rūpas. Emission of semen is related with Chittaja Rūpas, especially the lustful chittas. And also the tears coming out, the production of tears, saliva, they also have a great relationship with Chittaja Rūpas, because we know how our body reacts to certain emotions. When you are very sad, the tears come out. According to the tradition, tears are produced during that time, and saliva oozes in our tongues. Sometimes, if during sexual activities the semen comes out, all these are due to the effects of the chitta towards the body. And then another aspect is the bliss and the pain that we experience due to the chittas. It's obvious that when our mind is tormenting due to certain defilements, we can also feel it physically. At the same time, when we elevate the level of our mind, elevation means bring up the level of our mind in terms of spirituality, we also experience very high level of bliss that can be experienced during intense meditation practice, high level of concentration, especially in jhanas. So physical movements, changes that happen in the body, and also the bliss and the suffering that we encounter through these Chittaja Rūpas. Another aspect is the relationship between Chittaja Rūpas with the self-view of a doer, Karaka Ditti. It also correlates with the Chetana, But Chetana itself cannot, since Chetana itself cannot perform Chitta activities, Chitta Rupas act as the link. So when we are about to get rid of self-view, either we focus on the Chitta Rupas or the mentalities that causes such activities. The Karaka Ditti is the idea of a doer. For instance, if I'm talking, if Karaka Ditti plays a role here, I'll be thinking that I myself, who is called Maggavihari, is doing this lecture. That entity, unchanging entity. Unchanging entity means who have been living throughout these 36 years is performing this activity as he used to do yesterday or just a few minutes before. So likewise, that is the idea of the Karaka Ditti. So Karaka Ditti is cleared or got rid of only by contemplating the causes of these activities. So therefore, Chitta Rupas plays a huge role in our practice in this regard. So today we are going to talk about a certain physical activity that is related with Chitta Rupa, related to Chitta Rupas, which we call laughing or smiling. Laughing or smiling. Sorry. Smile or laugh. Smile or laugh. Smiling or laughing, I may use the word interchangeably, though they have two different meanings. What I refer here is a certain physical activity that happens with a pleasant, joyful mind. Piti sahagata chitta, somanasa sahagata chitta. But it is not that all the somanasa sahagata chittas produce smile. Smile is exclusive a physical activity. It's a physical activity. Right? It's not that all the somanasa, if a somanasa chitta, it's not that when the somanasa chitta is arising in him, we smile. No. It's true that when the somanasa chitta is there, our mind, our body becomes very pleasant. Even someone who is observing us from outside could see this man is in a happy mood, happy status. But when it is manifested, sometimes purposefully in order to show our appreciation towards someone, sometimes naturally this happiness manifests in our body. There are few ways the happiness could be manifested, can get manifested. One is through utterance, especially when the Buddha and Savakas, when they attain spiritual higher, especially supramundane attainments, and when they have contemplated that they have got rid of the samsara or they have finished their course of suffering, immense joy arises in them. So when the water is boiling in a pot, boiling in a vessel, at some point the water would flow out because it's when it is unable to hold it in the vessel. So likewise, when the happiness is so much intense or so much powerful, intense doesn't mean of happiness that we get while partying and all. But if the happiness is very powerful, strong, it would not just remain in our body, remain in our mind. It would come out as a physical or a verbal manifestation. So one kind of a manifestation is udana. Udana. Udana are utterances. The whole Udana Pali is a manifestation of happiness. For when encountering a certain incident, Buddha or an Arahant gets a certain idea, oh, this person is suffering due to this and this. For example, once a wife wanted a certain thing and the husband could not afford what she wished. I think she was asking for some ghee or something, not a very rich family. So in the end, the husband went to a place of a donation, and then he just wanted to bring ghee as much as possible. So he drank a lot of ghee with the intention of coming and vomiting and offering, because it was not for drinking, for some other purpose, if my memory was correct. So then he drank a lot. Then when he came back house, he could not vomit it. right? He could not vomit it. So he was suffering a lot. He was turning here and there and shouting because a lot of ghee was stuck in his stomach. So seeing this, the Buddha, while walking beside, he saw this and he uttered a gatha about the karma, the defects of karma and the benefits of getting rid of it. So likewise, seeing such, and also he knew that he's free from such lust and karma. So seeing such incidences, sometimes Arahants and Buddhas, Pacceka Buddhas, they start to reflect on themselves and see that they are free from such unhealthy states or bad states, and eventually they get a strong happiness or a piti, which eventually end up being a utterance. So one way a piti manifests to the outside is through the verbal activity called udana. The Buddha's first words, as believed by most of the Theravadians, is aneka jati sansarang. Was aneka jati sansara. According to some, there are different opinions on this about which gatha was uttered in the first place, but mostly we believe that aneka jati were the first Buddha words. First words of the Buddha. So this was also a manifestation of immense happiness that he had while he completed this course, finished this course of becoming a Buddha, because it was a very long journey that he took, embarked in at the foot of the Dipankara, and he finished this course under the Bodhi tree. So knowing that, he couldn't stop his joy, and it came out as the Aneka Jati Udana. And then the next way the happiness comes out is manifested through smiling. Through smiling or laughing. So in this regard, a physical gesture appears, mainly in the face. So this physical gesture, manifestation can be seen mainly in the face, especially in two places. One is the eyes, and the next is the mouth. We know that when we smile, the mouth goes like this, right? It spreads, right? Normally the mouth is like this and it starts to spread, right? That's how we draw, right? Smiling face. So it starts to spread and the cheeks get expanded. And then our eyes starts to starts to glitter, right? They become very bright. So these are the two manifestations. Another is a sound comes out. So the eyes are glittering. Then the mouth is expanded. Sometimes the lips are open and the teeth are shown. In some occasions, sound comes out. So we smile, right, with a certain sound. If it goes to a very higher level, if it couldn't be stopped, if the smile could not be restrained, it may end up in tearing, like tears coming, shedding tears not in the sense of being sad, tears of joy, and sometimes even moving the limbs, holding the stomach and falling down and rolling and all this, right? So these are all physical manifestations of a strong happiness. But when you go beyond the level of, when you pass the level of shedding tears, like tears of joy, or physically throwing away the limbs and falling down, rolling, so that is a very unrestrained state. You go to that level means it shows that the person is not much restrained, especially if a monk does so, we feel very weird. We expect monks to be more restrained. So they are, and also a respected person, for example, like a president of a country or a teacher, right? If a teacher laughs in a class till tears come out, it is not very, it doesn't match the situation. So likewise, the last two stages are considered somewhat beyond the ordinary, not that much appreciated in certain contexts. But together with friends, in a personal encounter, yes, such things can do happen. So in this regard, smile has been listed as sixfold. This is listed sixfold. First is sita. Then we have hasita. Sita, hasita, upahasita, vihasita. Sita, hasita, vihasita, upahasita, apahasita, and atihasita. Right? These are the 6 types of smiling, laughs mentioned in Subodha Lankara. Subodha Lankara, Pali prosody. We don't see this in commentarial texts, to my knowledge, right? If my knowledge is correct. And all these smiles are produced by Somanassa Chittas. Somanassa Chittas. But not all Somanassa Chittas can produce smile. There are 13 Somanassa Sahagata Chittas that are responsible for the production of smiling. What are these 13? But it's not that all could produce all types of smile. Then we'll try to see the relationship. I couldn't prepare a handout because I was quite busy these few days. Sorry for that, due to the work of IIT. So there are 13 types of Somanassa Sahagata Chittas. First is obviously the 4 Lobha Mula Chittas. That is obvious to all of us. 4 Lobha Mula Somanassa. Then we have 4 Somanassa Kusala Chittas. And we have 4 Somanassa Mahākiriya, not Appana, Mahākiriya Chittas. And then we have Hasitupada, which is itself is the mild smile producing consciousness. So 4 Lobhamula, 4 Mahakusala, 4 Mahākiriya, which are all of Somanassa Vedana and the Hasitupada. These are the 13 consciousness that can produce smiling. There is no specific exact relationship shown in books between the 6 types of smiles and the 13 consciousnesses. So I personally feel that till Vihasita, these 4 are only produced by 4 Somanassa Lobha Mula Chittas. Only produced by them. Then Sita and Hasita, right, can be produced by all 13. Can be produced by all 13. That's my personal opinion. There can be an argument regarding Vihasita. Sorry, just made a mistake. My opinion is these last three, sorry for that. Upahasita, Apahasita and Atahasita can be produced only by the 4 Lobha Mula Chittas, Somanassa. But the first 3, Sita, Hasita and Vihasita, can be produced by all 13 Somanassa consciousnesses, including the 4 Lobha Mula Chittas. So if we draw it if this writing is a little bit confusing, we may also make it like all these can be produced by 4 Lobha Mula Chittas. Then the first 3 can also be produced by 4 Kusala, 4 Kiriya and Hasitupada. Right? So there is no burden no obstacle for the 4 Lobha Mulas to produce the above. So now we have to understand what are these smiling. Only then we will be able to know whether a certain smile is possible with a particular chitta. Sita means what? I hope that the Somanassa Chitta, the involvement of Somanassa Chitta in laughing and smiling is obvious, because we cannot smile with Domanassa Chitta obviously. Domanassa Chitta makes us angry or upset. sarcastically one may smile, but it's not considered as a smile here. Smile is a pure joyful activity we are referring here. So now sita, hasita, vihasita. What is sita? Sita means the physical gesture of showing your appreciation towards someone just by through the eyes, brightening your eyes, making your eyes to glitter, like showing, opening it and showing some sort of appreciation through eyes when we are happy about it. Now, especially sometimes when parents are observing their children, teachers are observing their students, their success, sometimes we do show this appreciation with eyes. So, likewise, in such a smile, no mouth is not much involved and no sound comes out. Teeth are not shown, just the appreciation is shown through the eyes. So that is called sita. That is sita. Hasita means the happiness is, we have a much better manifestation of the happiness. The mouth is expanded, the jaws get expanded, the cheeks, and then to a level where the edge of the teeth can be seen to the other person, right? I'm not able to show this as an example, but you can see when we smile, sometimes the edge of the teeth can be seen. So that's why when we take the photos, we say just cheese, right? When you say cheese, automatically you are showing your teeth. So it's also one way of expressing your happiness towards someone, showing the teeth. And in that regard, we open the lips, right? So this is through eyes, this is by showing the teeth. In between we can have a smile where mouth is expanded, teeth is not shown, right? Sometimes we do smile, closing our lips and just expanding expanding means stretching the mouth, stretching the cheeks. Then vihasita is a smile that produces a very sweet voice. Not a very strong voice, but a very sweet voice. Sweet, pleasant voice. That is vihasita. Upahasita is more intense to the level, the body is shaking up to the level of shaking of shoulders, right? Sometimes some Mahatheras, when they are sitting restrained, if something happens, sometimes they smile and to the level, the shoulders are to the level the shoulders are shaking, right? It's much intense than the vihasita smile, upahasita. Then apahasita is smiling till tears come out. Very unrestrained type of a smile that he could not stop in that. So when a very intense joke is done by someone, sometimes it happens. If you cannot stop your smiling, laughing, you keep on laughing till tears come out. Atihasita is the very unrestrained type of smile. The person cannot restrain himself, control himself. Even they hold their stomach and bend their body, sometimes fall down, sometimes throw their limbs here and there. And it's a very completely out of control type of a smile. So these are the 6 types of smiles. Sita is just making your eyes to glitter. Hasita, showing the teeth, edge of the teeth. Vihasita, producing a very sweet smile, sweet sound. Upahasita, loud type of a laugh to the level of shaking the shoulders. Apahasita, smiling till tears come out. Atihasita, that is smiling without any restraining, falling down and throwing your limbs here and there. Now, when you listen to this explanation, it's quite clear. So obviously, apahasita and atahasita cannot be done with kusala chitta. Obviously, it is lobha mula chitta. There's no doubt about that. Upahasita also seems like, because that becomes out of control because your shoulders are shaking. Because when you are smiling in that level, it becomes obvious that your body is not in your control. Like comes out. It's a natural type of a smile which is coming up. Vihasita is a smile that produces a sweet voice. Personally, I feel there's some sort of a control over it. So I believe that Kusala Chittas could produce them. I need to correct this actually. Sorry for that. Then Kusala Chittas could produce them. So Sita, Hasita, Vihasita, all three can be produced even by Kusala Chittas, 4 Kusala Chittas, 4 Mahakusala Chittas. Then the first two can be produced by 4 Mahakiriya and Hasitupada. Sorry, because Vihasita cannot be produced by the Kiriya Chittas, right? Kiriya Chittas. So Kusala Chitta, I think it's possible. Some can have discussion on this matter because it's not specifically mentioned what type of a smile can be produced by which type of a chitta. This is an assumption I get based on the knowledge that I have, right? So it can be challenged surely. Upahasita, Apahasita and Atihasita, it seems is very obvious that they are only produced by the Lobha-Mula Chittas. Whether Vihasita is exclusive to Lobha-Mula or can Kusala Chittas produce such a smile is something that can be debated, but I personally feel it is possible the Kusala Chitta may, because with Kusala Chittas we can produce loud voices such as sadhu, we can give a Dhamma talk, we can show our expressions. So in that regard, I think sweet, that's how the definition is. Vihasita is the smile or laugh producing a very pleasant, sweet voice, not such as ha ha ha, something very loud, unrestrained voice. So that's why I think Vihasita is possible to be produced by the Kusala Chitta. Then the tradition holds the idea that, especially some Mahatheras hold the idea that Kiriya Chittas do not produce a smile with a noise. Do not produce a smile or a laugh with a noise. So only Sita and Hasita, showing the appreciation through eyes or to the level of showing the teeth. So it can be produced by 4 Kiriya Chittas, Somanassa and Hasitupada. So what does this implicitly explains? If someone makes if this teaching is correct, as said by Rerukane Chandavimala Mahathera and some other Burmese scholars, but we don't exactly see this in these words in the commentary literature. But if someone is laughing with a noise, he cannot be an arahant, because according to this, arahants smile only with Sita and Hasita, only to the extent of level of level of showing the teeth only, not making a voice. But other noble beings, it is said, can produce the Vihasita and Upahasita. So before we come to that, just want to mention Sita and the 4 Kiriya Chittas and Hasitupada Chitta, because they arise in arahants who are highly restrained, only Sita and Hasita can be produced by these Chittas. 4 Kusala Chittas can produce Sita, Hasita and Vihasita, even to the level of producing a sweet voice, noise. But still, it's my personal opinion. Then Upahasita, Apahasita, Atihasita can only be produced by 4 Lobha-Mula. There is no problem in Lobha-Mula producing all these 4. Obviously, we may show our appreciation with Lobha-Mula Chitta to someone. We may show our teeth with Lobha-Mula. Obviously, that's what happened in most of the cases, right? So especially if 2 partners, for example, 2 partners meet, they are not always laughing, but they show their appreciation with a certain gesture, right? That's obviously Lobha-Mula Chitta. So likewise, all types of smiles can be produced by the 4 Lobha-Mula Chittas. Then the first 3 can be produced also by Kusala Chittas, and the first 2 can be produced also by Mahakiriya and Hasitupada, but all has to be Somanassa. Then we need to classify these smiles based on the being, the Puggala. This classification is based on the consciousness. Then we move to classify this based on the being, living being. So in this regard, we have few types of living beings. Unrestrained Putujjana. Unrestrained Putujjana. Then we have restrained. Putujjana. We have 3 lower nobles. Better we write it giving some more space. Yeah, unrestrained. Putujjana. Then we have restrained Putujjana. We have 3 lower nobles. We have Arahants and Pacceka Buddhas and Sammasambuddhas. Sammasambuddha. Unrestrained Putujjana, restrained Putujjana, 3 lower nobles, Arahants and Pacceka Buddhas and Sammasambuddha. Right? Now we are going to categorize what type of smiles each person can produce, and then eventually we'll be able to categorize ourselves. Where do we belong to? Okay, hopefully. So this is the Puggala. Then we have the smiles. Then what type of Chitta which produces this smile? Due to the Chitta, we had to dissect the Arahants and Pacceka Buddhas into one group, divide them and make Sammasambuddha a different person in this regard. Otherwise, normally they are categorized together. But when we think about the Chittas, obviously Sammasambuddhas doesn't have certain Chittas that Arahants do have. Now what type of smiles? If you remember, we have 6 types of smiles. Sita, Hasita. Sita is just showing the appreciation through eyes. Hasita showing the edge of the teeth. Vihasita, a smile or a laugh, producing a very sweet sound. Upahasita, smiling to the level of shaking the shoulders. Apahasita, smiling till the tears come out. Atihasita, fully unrestrained laugh, right? Laughing like without any restraining. Throwing the body here and there. Now, it is said, Arahants, Pacceka Buddhas and Sammasambuddhas, they only smile with Sita and Hasita. Sita, Hasita. Sammasambuddhas, Sita and Hasita. But this Hasita of Sammasambuddha is being debated within the tradition. I'm very sorry I was unable to give you a handout, but I'll give you I'll give you the places where these discussions are going on, right? In which commentaries, sub-commentaries. Normally it is said Buddhas do smile with Sita and Hasita, that is, they do sometimes show their teeth to the outside while smiling. Obviously they are not making any sound. Then unrestrained Putujjana and lower nobles, restrained Putujjanas and lower nobles do smile with 4 types of smile: Sita, Hasita, Vihasita and Upahasita. So they also Sita, Hasita, Vihasita and Upahasita. The unrestrained Putujjana smiles with all 6 types of smiles. So including Atihasita and Apahasita and Atihasita. So if you happens to smile or laugh tears come out, or sometimes if we smile or laugh, actually not smiling, laugh, unrestrained, throwing our limbs in and there, according to this categorization, it's not a good position to be in, right? It's not a good position. It's the topmost in the list, but it's not a good title, unrestrained Putujana title. So we need to restrain ourselves. A smile or laugh is a manifestation of our inner qualities. That's how Mahatheras used to say us. It's a manifestation of our inner qualities. Another thing is crying. If someone cannot control his or her emotions and cry, it shows that some sort of a weakness is there, but it's not that very high, even strong beings do cry sometimes. Even Bodhisattvas, there are occasions they cried. In the Susima Jataka of his, not the Susima Jataka, in the life where his son became a Pacceka Buddha, and when he knew that he passed away, he cried, even falling down and hitting the earth to that level. Yes, even some great beings sometimes cannot control their emotions. They do cry, but it shows some sort of a weakness in us. That's why people cry. An Arahant, whatever happens, they are unshaken. In the same way, the smile or laugh is also a manifestation of our inner qualities. If someone has a very highly restrained smile or a laugh, it shows that he's able to control his emotions to some level. Even a very highly intense joke was made in front of us. Sometimes if something happens while we are having water in our mouth, even it has happened to me, right? So sometimes if you cannot stop your emotion, the intense joy coming out, surely you puff the water out, right? In the same, so it shows that we are unable to control ourselves. Therefore, we have to give some sort of attention to the way we smile and way we laugh. So just another point is, now it says that Sita and Hasita is only produced by Kriya Chittas. Vihasita is not. So that's why someone can argue, is Vihasita, since that Kriya Chittas don't go into that level, isn't that the Vihasita is only produced by Lobha Mula Chittas? Personally, I feel the Kusala Chitta has a less level of restraint nature, and its we call it active nature is much higher than that of Kriya Chitta. That's why it even becomes a karma. So I personally believe the Kusala Chittas can make some gross physical activities than that of the Kriya Chittas. So therefore, we can see, looking at this categorization, smiles do label us to which category we belong to, right? So then we may list down what types of chittas that are involved in this. Unrestrained Putujanas, out of the 13 consciousness, so don't forget the 13 consciousness, 4 Lobha Mula Chitta Somanassa, 4 Kusala Chitta Somanassa, 4 Kriya Chitta Somanassa, and Hasitupada. Obviously Hasitupada and Kriya Chitta are exclusive to the last group, right? 2 groups, Arahants. So we have to focus on 4 Lobha Mula Kusala Chitta and 4 Somanassa. Sorry, 4 Lobha Mula, 4 Somanassa Lobha Mula Chittas and 4 Somanassa Kusala Chittas. Since the unrestrained Putujanas have all of them, any Putujana has all of them, so it is possible that all 6 types of smiles are produced by 4 Lobha Mula Chitta and 4 Kusala Chittas. Always keep it in mind, they are always Somanassa, right? Somanassa Chittas, right? Somanassa. Then the same goes with the unrestrained Putujanas. They also have 4 Lobha Mula Chittas, Somanassa, and 4 Somanassa Kusala Chittas. Then with the 3 lower nobles, what happens is they may smile with the 4 Kusala Chittas, 4 Somanassa Kusala Chittas, but the Lobha Mula Chittas number reduced to 2 Ditti Vippayutta, because they don't have Ditti in them. Ditti Vippayutta Lobha Mula Chittas, Somanassa. Ditti Vippayutta, since they have eradicated all wrong views. Then when it comes to the Arahants group, kusala changes into kiriya and the akusala is removed. So Arahants and Pacceka Buddhas smile with 4 Somanassa Maha Kiriya Chitta and Hasituppada. Kiriya Chitta and Hasituppada. Then with the Samma Sambuddhas, what happens is these Kiriya Chittas, 4 Somanassa Kiriya Chittas have 2 with wisdom and 2 without wisdom. As it is mentioned in the literature that the Buddhas do not have 4 Jnana Vipayutta Mahakiriyas, they only have 4 Jnana Sampayutta Mahakiriyas. So the Kiriya, number of Kiriya reduced to 2 Jnana Sampayutta Kiriya. Then they have Hasituppada. Right. Hasituppada is also being debated, whether they have the Hasituppada or not, and the nature of their smile. With regard to Samma Sambuddha, the debate goes on whether do they smile with Hasita and do they have the Hasituppada in producing whatever smile they make. So this is the categorization. These are the categorizations. Unrestrained Putujjanas smile with all 6 types of smiles with 4 Somanassa Lobamula and 4 Somanassa Kusala. Restrained Putujjanas smile with Sita, Hasita, Vihasita and Upahasita with 4 Lobamula Somanassa Chittas and 4 Somanassa Kusala Chittas. Then here the number is 4 smiles. Though the Chittas remain the same, the type of smiles changes. So that's why when we are coming from the unrestrained level to the restrained level, it's not that we are reducing any type of a chitta. So now this shows that from coming from the unrestrained level to the restrained level, we are not reducing any type of a chitta, but we reduce certain physical manifestations, physical activities. So this is the restraining level. If we want to remove the certain chittas, we have to remove anusaya. But first we need to restrain our behavior. What do we do physically? What do we talk physically, verbally? Right? This is a big change, huge change. Though it seems like something trifle, but this shows the category. This makes you to come into a more respected level in life. Right? I hope you understand this point. The chittas would remain the same, but the types of smiles has changed. Means they may smile with Sita. We use the same color. Sita, Hasita, Vihasita, Upahasita, Atihasita and Apahasita. Right? So they had 6 types of smiles. Restrained Putujjanas have 4 only. Nobles also have 4. But what happens here is the smiles remain the same, but the number of chittas reduce because they don't have the lower nobles doesn't have the 2 ditthigata sampayutta chittas. Then when it comes to Arahants level, even the number of smiles do change and the chittas also, the akusala chittas are removed. Hasituppada they get because it's exclusive to the Arahants. Then when it comes to Samma Sambuddhas, the number changes the same, unchanged, but the number of chittas, Jnana Vipayutta chittas are not arising in there. So this is a very insightful illustration of the status of the being, their physical, the nature of their smiling, and also the consciousness that are involved in this physical activity, right? So then the debate, the discussion is regarding the Buddha smiling, because we know, we have heard, we have read in books, in some occasions Buddha did smile, seen certain incidences, he had happiness and he made that physical gesture of smiling, and Venerable Ananda could see it, could understand it, And in most of the cases, he asked the question, why did the Buddha smile? Because he knows Buddhas, some Buddhas do not smile without any reason. There should be a specific reason. And if they do not smile for trifle things. For example, sometimes when we may smile while seeing someone falling down or slipping in mud. If it happens to a friend, sometimes we do smile, right? But restrained people don't do that. But sometimes it happens. Someone make a mistake, do smile. But Buddhas doesn't do that. Buddhas doesn't smile when someone make a mistake in the public or makes a joke. No, they don't smile like that. Right? So when the Buddha smiles, whenever Ananda knows, there should be a specific reason. So whenever Ananda asks, why Bhante, why did the Buddha smile? Then he mentioned because of this and this, seen this peta, seen this incident. It's not that he's smiling for the suffering of the peta. He is seen the person suffering. He contemplates Dhamma or contemplate about himself, the suffering that he got rid of, and then the piti comes up and he smiles. All right. So now we know that the Buddha has smiled, but what type of a smile was there? According to the literature, when the Buddha smiles, the Ananda who was behind the Buddha could see, because Ananda was not walking in front of the Buddha, not walking beside the Buddha, he was walking behind the Buddha. So how could he see when the Buddha smiled? It is said in the literature, when he smiles, white rays from his teeth comes out or is emit from his teeth and surrounds his head 3 times and goes to the sky. Emits from his teeth, white rays emit from his teeth and goes around his head for 3 times and then goes to the sky. So Ananda, who is walking behind the Buddha, close to Buddha, could see these white rays and he understood, okay, the Buddha has smiled. Then he suddenly stops, pays respect to Buddha and asks, Bhante, why did the Tathagata smile? Then Buddha says this was the reason. So this incident shows that his teeth was shown. That's why the rays could emit. While he has closed his lips, the rays do not emit. So therefore, the literature believes that, most of the teachers believe that he smiles with hasita, opening his lips, showing the teeth to some extent. Not fully, only the edges of teeth. But Mani Manjusa Tika, Mani Manjusa, there's one sub-commentary called Mani Manjusa. Mani Manjusa sub-commentator argues that no, the Buddha doesn't show his teeth. What he does is he lessens the grip of the lips, like he loosens the grip. Because when our lips are upon each other, touching upon each other, there's a certain grip. So he loosens this. So while he is loosening this, the rays emit and goes around his head. And this also has some sense in that regard, because it is not necessary that it is not necessary for the rays to come out, for the teeth to be open. Like, it's not that whenever he opens his mouth, rays are coming out. I don't think so. Otherwise, when he is preaching a Dhamma, it would be a real disturbance for the audience if rays are coming out all the time. They should be very bright according to his physical appearance, a great man. But I don't think the rays would come out whenever he opens his mouth. Only when he smiles. So his chitta has a great effect on these rays coming out of his teeth. Only during the somanasa chitta is arising, these rays emit. So most of the teachers believe that in order for those rays to come out, the teeth has to be open. But Mani Manjusa Tika is saying no, this is it's a very special incident, and the lips are being loosened. So then, due to this loosening point, the rays come out and goes around his head. So this is the first argument, right? Because in the book says Sitang Patvakasi. The Buddha never said, the Tipitaka never said the Buddha hasitang patvakasi. Hasita, sita, hasita, this categorization. Always the word sita comes when it comes to arahant smiling. But the thing is, even arahants are said to be smiling with sita, not with hasita. So sitam patvakasi. Maybe the word sita was used to two types of smiles in the Tipitaka, in the commentary literature. So that is also not a very strong argument, but the Manimanjusa Tika mainly based on this, because the book says sitam patvakasi. So maybe it's that the Buddha never showed his teeth. Sita is exclusive for showing the appreciation through eyes or without showing the teeth. But another way of thinking is no, sita can include both sita and hasita. It is possible grammatically. So therefore, Buddhas did show the teeth, but it was mentioned in the name of sita. Then the next question is, what type of chittas? Because the commentators say Buddhas do get hasitupada chitta, while smiling. One sub-commentator argues, in the Patisambhida Magga, or Niddesapala, I forgot actually, there is a statement, Sabbang Kaya Kammang. Sabbang Kaya Kammang, Bhagavato Sabbang Kaya Kammang, Jnana Pubbanggamang, Jnana Pubbanggamang, Jnananu Parivattang. Jnana Pubbanggamang. All the verbal, physical and mental activities are preceded by wisdom. Jnana Pubbanggamang, Jnananu Parivattan. They act according to the wisdom. They are preceded by wisdom. So what my sub-commentary is arguing, how could hasitupada arise in a Buddha? Because it's a javana chitta, and that javana chitta is not associated with wisdom. It is a ahetuka chitta. It's not associated with akusala cetasikas, but still it doesn't have wisdom. So seems like it contradicts what the commentators are saying, contradicts with the statement found in Patisambhida Magga. The answer of the teachers is yes. It is not that these two statements are contradicting, because according to this statement, what is mentioned is Buddha's all physical, verbal, mental activities are led by jnana, not associated with jnana. It's not that the sabbang kaya kammang jnana sampayuttang. Jnana pubbanggamang. Jnana pubbanggamang means it's led by wisdom. So the explanation would be, when the Buddha is smiling, mostly when he sees a certain object, such as the Mahadana Setti who became a beggar, having spent all the wealth that he got from his parents. In such occasions, he sees the past and the future. What was his life like, and what would it look like in the next life? So mostly anagatansa jnana, sabbanyuta jnana, these types of wisdoms arise before, then it is followed by hasitupada. Then followed by hasitupada. Then again followed by these types of wisdom. Anagatansa, sabbanyuta. So even this is not there, still it is still okay, this following part. So since hasitupada is following a very high level of wisdom, this is just the outcome of the wisdom. This is not to be considered as it's like the main part is, why did he laugh? Because of his wisdom. So it is a physical gesture, physical activity that he does, hasitupada, with the ahetuka chitta obviously, but this activity is led by jnana. So it doesn't contradict with the statement, kaya kamma jnana pubbanggamang, not jnana sampayutta. Therefore, it is accepted in the generally believed in the tradition, because the Mula Tika suggests this point. Mula Tika brings up the argument and say Hasituppada should not arise in Buddha based on that statement. But the Anutika, the sub-commentator which elaborates Mula Tika, says no, it's not necessarily, because since such wisdoms arise before Hasituppada is led by wisdom. So it is possible. It's not that the Buddha smiles with the Hasituppada. So what does it mean that Hasituppada doesn't arise without such wisdom? So on special occasions. So therefore, it is accepted in the tradition that Buddhas get all Buddhas smile with these three types of consciousnesses. Right? So this is the lesson today. Smiling. So we talked about 6 types of smiles: Sita, Hasita, Vihasita, Upahasita, Apahasita, and Atihasita, and 13 types of consciousnesses that produce this smile. And smile is a physical manifestation of our inner happiness, and it also depicts our internal spiritual growth as human beings or spiritual beings. And it is said that the unrestrained Putujanas may smile with all 6 types of smiles. Restrained Putujanas with the 4, excluding the last 2, and the same with the 3 lower nobles. And the Arahants do not make a noise while smiling. So when I have studied this as a child, when I was 17, when I first learned this, I didn't know where it came from, and the book I studied, this was mentioned. So whenever I meet a monk, first thing that comes to my mind is to see whether this Bhante is making a noise while smiling, which is not a good thing actually. Then later you understand what the practice is and how difficult it is to get into such levels. But this is a very strict standard. If this is taken to be correct, you will find that it won't be very easy to find a person who matches the definitions of an Arahant, according to, if this is taken as authentic Theravada teachings. But these 6 types of smiles are found in Pali prosody, but Abhidhamma scholars have adapted this because it also belongs to the Theravada tradition, and they have adapted that only first 2 types of smiles can be found in Arahants, and because Arahants have never, in the literature it is never found that the Arahants had smile making a noise, making some sort of a noise. So even very highly respected Abhidhamma scholars have adapted this theory here. So if this theory is to be taken authentic or correct, what happens is the parameter, the standards of the ceiling of an Arahant goes high. So it will be very deadly difficult, as I think you understand what I mean. It will be deadly difficult, very difficult in today's standards to find out beings who have completely eradicated defilements if they are not to make any sounds while smiling, right? So that also reveals something very important in our Dhamma studies. Then we discuss what types of chittas are involved in these smiles, and the 2 arguments regarding Sita Hasita about Buddha smiling and the consciousnesses involved while Buddha is smiling, whether Hasitupada can arise in him or not. Right? So this would be the lecture, and when we are smiling, the takeaway message is smiling is a physical gesture. For a physical gesture, Chittaja Rupas need to arise in us, and those Chittaja Rupas of smiling are produced by Somanasa Sahagata Chittas. So when someone is smiling, without considering, oh, his smile is beautiful, her smile is beautiful, very attractive, or my smile is very nice, we have to consider, due to the physical body that we possess, mainly the Utuja Rupas, do show some manifestation in relation to the nature of the consciousness that we have. And if that consciousness is very happyful, joyful, it produces certain Chitta Rupas, and this outcome, this would result in smiling. And so it shows that It's no person who is smiling. Due to a pleasant, a joyful consciousness, some chitta rupas happen, and then our Utuja body or the body happens to smile. So that would be much clearer when we start discussing Viññati Rupas in another few weeks. So that would be the lecture for today. Next week I'll be talking about some other physical gestures, activities, and then we'll come into a one separate lecture about breathing. Finally, then we move on to discuss about the two Viññati Rupas, which are very vital in our practice of eradicating or removing the self-view. Yeah. So I give you the opportunity to ask questions. Yeah.
May I ask my question?
Yes, sure.
My question is, what is reflected by a smile of Buddha, Pacceka Buddha or Arahant is only on sense-sphere phenomena. Is only on sense-sphere phenomena.
No. Sometimes based on, you mean the object, right? Object. So sometimes contemplating their supramundane, sublime attainments, they may smile. Possibility is there. Because why do I say so? When defining the Hasituppada Chitta, books mention that Hasituppada arises in Arahants while encountering gross objects. Gross objects such as a Peta is suffering. So he contemplates, encountering this, he contemplates that he is free from this suffering. An Arahant sees some monks fighting for requisites, and he may contemplate that I am free from such mind state. Sometimes Arahant would obtain some flowers, then he would be happy that I got something to offer to the Buddha. Sometimes Arahant is asked to do some duty, giving a broom to his hand and please sweep, right? While most of the monks would get devastated to angry, the Arahants would normally say, oh, he smile arises in him. I have an opportunity to do a duty for the Sangha. So likewise, it is said that Hasituppada arises in them when encountering gross objects. Gross objects mean such objects of Petas, the defilements of humans, and so forth. Then what are the subtle objects? Subtle objects are the attainments, the jhanas, maggapalas, the eradication of defilements, the nibbana. When such objects are contemplated, sometimes immense joy arises in them. That time even they could smile. So smile, rather than saying the object of smiling, the reason of smiling could be sense-sphere objects, kama-vachara dhamma. At the same time, non-kama-vachara dhammas can also be a reason for smiling.
I have one more question, it's a short one. This is not of smiling. When it comes to Buddha, Pacceka Buddha and Arahants, all the three nobles, there are differences in degree, not in time. That's what
Their differences in the degree of?
There are differences in degree, not in time.
Not in time. What do you mean by
time? Time.
Kind?
Yes.
The difference in degree, not in. What do you mean by what did you mean by that? I didn't get that.
The difference in that level, the difference is in level, not in the types. They are all in same time.
You mean in terms of what? In terms of chitta or something?
Yes.
If I say, okay, I'll give you a general answer to this. What is the difference between a Buddha, Pacceka Buddha and Arahant? Something that we should know actually. All of them have understood the Four Noble Truths, realized the Four Noble Truths, I would say, rather than understanding. And they have eradicated all the defilements, anusaya. Then the difference between Savaka and Pacceka Buddha is, Savaka does it, understanding or realization, realizes the Four Noble Truths and attain the Four Noble Truths and attain the Nibbana and eradicate the defilements with the help of the teachings of a Samma Sambuddha. Only when the dispensation is present. Either they may hear it directly from the Samma Sambuddha or from a Savaka, doesn't matter. So they need the support of someone else, outside the support. Parato Gosa Paccaya. Pacceka Buddhas do it by themselves without any help. They find their own path and practice and attain liberation, realize the Four Noble Truths and eradicate the defilements. Samma Sambuddhas, but still the Pacceka Buddhas have the unwholesome dispositions within themselves. Vasana we call, Vasana Guna, unwholesome dispositions within themselves. So as a result, even though they don't have defilements, they may act as if they have defilements. For example, Arahant who has some completely eradicated raga may look at someone as he is looking with raga. Someone, Arahant who has eradicated all the anger may talk to someone, make him to have the thought that he is talking in anger with me. So these are called vasana. Pacceka Buddhas do not eradicate vasana. Arahants do not eradicate, not completely. Seems like they partially eradicate when looking into the attainments, but somehow they don't fully eradicate. So that's why they cannot reach the omniscience. Samma Sambuddhas attain the Noble Truths by themselves, realize themselves without any help, and they do eradicate defilements and the dispositions. Disposition means the unwholesome tendencies, the vasana I would call, habitual tendencies implanted in our mind stream, remaining remnants of the akusalas. Then as a result they reach the omniscience. So these are the differences. And then in terms of qualities of the Mahakaruna and so forth, Arahants, Pacceka Buddhas, Samma Sambuddhas have different levels of Mahakaruna. Samma Sambuddhas have the highest, then the Pacceka Buddhas, and then the Arahants. So in all these qualities, Karuna, Mudita, the level is different. Wisdom, the understanding is different. And so there are many differences in them. But if you ask what type of a chitta, with what type of chitta do they eradicate defilements, all have the Arahatta Magga Chitta, Arahatta Pala Chitta. But with regard to Buddhas, Jnana Viputta Chittas do not arise because their mindfulness, their awareness is very high to that of Arahants. So sometimes Arahants may do some activities as a habit that without, they do have mindfulness means they do not get any akusala, but it's not, sometimes they may not be very focused on what they are doing. Sometimes they do it as a habit, like daily routines, for example, writing and taking something while doing, they may not be well focused. But a Buddha, what each and every activity he does, even doing a finger, he is very much mindful on this regard. So there are many differences in them, but if you ask in terms of Nama Rupas, yes, Arahatta Magga, Arahatta Pala arise in them. Number of chittas, there's not much difference, only the Jnana Viputta chittas are missing, but levels of wisdoms and qualities are much different, and there's a huge, drastic, obvious difference between the three types of beings.
Thank you, I understood it. What can you do?
Okay.
Thank you so much. So next question is, how can one explain about a malicious smile that makes others have a goosebump?
What a malicious smile? What do you mean? I didn't get that.
Yes. So how can one explain about the malicious smile that makes others have the goosebump?
Good.
The goosebump is like, you say goosebump.
Goosebump.
Like when the person smiles, yeah. So another person feels the skin, you see? It's like that type.
Okay.
And another question is from the same person. So what is the Pali word for the unrestrained Buddhajana? Because today we are talking about two kinds of Buddhajana,
Yeah.
restrained and unrestrained.
Just
So what is the unrestrained Buddhajana?
Yeah, one moment.
Pali word.
Bala, not Bala. Bala means like one who does akusala, right? So even there can be a Buddhist, some monks even who smile like this, for example, who doesn't have that much restraint. Asangvara, I'm not able to give a very grammatical word. Even you can try, Sally.
You said asamara puthujana.
Yeah, it's not proper in terms of grammar. Yeah, someone, it doesn't come to my mind. Sorry, I'm very sorry. Not able to make one at the moment. Even. Asang. Yeah, you can also try. There are some Pali experts. Venerable Sumana is also here. You can also try if you want.
Maybe like the akaryana puthujana.
Akalyana, it may refer to that he is doing some bad deeds, right? Even this category can include unrestrained. That's I understand, but even monks and nuns sometimes can fall into this category. What I feel. Yeah, there's an answer. Is it? Someone has mentioned. Let's try it out.
It says asamyata or
Asangyata. Yeah. Asangyata puthujana is much better. Asangyata. Thank you for that. Asangyata puthujana. Sangyata. Thank you for that. Sangyata. Sangyata puthujana. Right? Asangyata puthujana. Sangyata puthujana. Restrained, unrestrained puthujana. The goosebumps incident, I think that is something personal, seems like, right? If someone has some sort of respect, high respect towards someone, seeing that person, seeing him or smiles, yes, sometimes we do get such kind of feelings possible. I think it's nothing related to the person's actual smile. It's something related, my personal opinion, is something related to the person. So the same person while smiling, one may get goosebumps, but the other may not. I think if you keep someone in a very high pedestal, sometimes a smile or even a look at that person may cause something that some feelings in them. So likewise, yeah, I think it's something related to the person who gets that feeling, rather than attributing it to the person, the smile of the person, other person.
Okay, thank you so much, Pandit.
Okay, then when we'll conclude. So next day I'll be talking about singing, dancing, playing music, and crying, and what type of chittaja rupas, what type of chittas are involved in it. It's not a very long lesson. Then after the next week, we'll go into breathing, which is a very controversial topic in Buddhist teachings, right? So I hope you got some idea about the lesson. So may this merit helps us to attain the highest knowledge and the final liberation, Nibbana, and may this merit also help to sustain the sasana. Buddha sasanang chirantittatu, Buddha sasanang chirantittatu, Buddha sasanang chirantittatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.